All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this next Tulip webinar. So today, like you saw on the invite, we're going to be speaking about the Tulip Library, some of the upgrades that we've done to it. Josh is going to be walking us through some of the cool new features, cool new apps, and then we'll go do a couple of live demos in the actual library itself. So actually, while we're just introducing the next things, you're going to get presented a poll. So if you just wouldn't mind answering that, we want to see how familiar folks are with the library. So you'll just see it pop on the right side of your screen there. If you could just go ahead and answer that, that would be awesome. So before we get started, we just wanted to share a couple of exciting things about Tulip's growing community. So there's two resources within Tulip that we wanted to share. First one is Tulip University. So Tulip University is a great place to go learn the basics or even advance your skills within the Tulip platform at your own speed. So you can take courses, watch the videos, learn from examples, and improve your Tulip skills. The other one is Tulip Community. So Tulip Community is where users from around the world come together to exchange ideas, troubleshoot together, share the awesome apps that people are building. There are competitions. There are lots of exciting things happening in the Tulip community. And then the last thing we wanted to share is the Augmented Podcast. So the Augmented Podcast started a couple of months ago, and it's really high quality material. It's kind of reveals the stories behind a new era of industrial operations. It's led by Trond Unheim from Tulip. And lots of really interesting interviews of leaders from around the world. And then just before we get started, the last thing is office hours. So 3 times a week, another Tulip resources that you can use to improve your Tulip skills is office hours. So office hours, you can come speak with a Tulip engineer and have any questions you have about Tulip answered. You can learn about new apps that we've released in the library, learn about new features that we add to the product, and just troubleshoot any apps or just share the apps that you're building. So it's a really good opportunity to share some of the awesome things that you're doing. Awesome. So just taking a look, looks like there's folks joining from all over the world, which is great to see. Welcome, everybody. So now with that, we're going to get started with the webinar. So the webinar today is Josh Richard. Josh, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. So my name is Josh Richard. Been at Tulip for a few years. I was previously an application engineer up until, I don't know, maybe six or 8 months ago. And now I'm working on the web team that is really excited about the new library launch because we're one of the many people that worked on launching the thing. So here to share that with you guys today.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Josh. And then I'm Gio. I was on the customer team for a couple of years, and then about a year ago moved over to manage the community. So, and just so everyone knows, we're going to be sharing these slides with everybody after the presentation. So feel free not to take notes. We'll send this all out following the presentation today. So taking a look at the agenda today, like I mentioned, we're going to go over a little bit about what is the Tulip Library in the first place, why we're very excited about it. Then we're going to be sharing what's new in the Tulip Library, so some of the new features, new app suites, new connectors, and then we'll be diving right in and taking a look at a couple of examples. So the first one is the Google Sheets app, so you can connect to Google Sheets. This is just one of the many connectors that we have, but we chose this one just to demo, and then we're going to be taking a look at an entire app suite. So, it's a collection of apps, and the one we're going to be taking a look at is the Audit Checklist app. And then finally, last 15 minutes, we're going to be answering any Q&A, any questions that you guys have. So if you have questions throughout the webinar, feel free to either drop them in the questions tab that you'll see there, or directly in the chat, and then we'll answer them at the end. But with that, we'll get started with what is the Tulip Library. Josh, over to you.
All right. What is the Tulip Library? click on the next slide. Let's show them. The Tulip Library is a configurable best practice apps, app suites, and connectors for frontline operations. It's an area where you can get all of this stuff, apps, app suites, and connectors. When we say frontline operations, we're talking about discrete and continuous manufacturing. Although we have customers outside of those already very broad categories. That's typically what we're thinking about when we say frontline operations. And so like this is a thing that we built, we put it on our website that lets you kind of get a view into all of this content. We'll like go into detail, what is this content as we kind of go through this webinar. What do you use this content for, and like what is the purpose? But like for now, you're looking at the homepage, tulip.co/library. On right in the middle with all of those illustrations, you'll see a slider that of different app suites that we've created. We'll get into an app suites a little bit later, but like for now, it's like usually a few apps that do a thing, or some or multiple things. On the left-hand side, you've got a sidebar. You can see we're grouped by like use cases, capabilities, and categories. Use cases, if you're, let's say that that you've got some really, really hard visibility problems, like you've got downstream quality metrics that for a fact are being caused by upstream issues. You can kind of dig into any of these use cases to figure out based on like the problems that you feel like you have. So like those downstream quality issues, I would dig into like error-proof workflows to see like how can I better improve the process that my folks are doing to make sure that those issues don't occur later. For like if I was looking into like if I needed to understand visibility or needed to get some traceability into like what was happening on my shop floor, I would look into something like capture data or maybe process intelligence. If I was into reimagining the way that we make our things using some lean methodologies, maybe I would dig into continuous improvement. We've got content for all of this stuff, and you can filter it through those use cases. We also section things off by capabilities. So like the Tulip platform is a digital toolbox. There's a bunch of different things you can do with it, depending on like your needs or the aspects of your business that you want to improve. And so you can dig into specific functionality in those sections. And then finally, categories. These are the different types of content that we'll get into here. Last thing. Oh, sorry. Go back one sec. The last thing I just want to point out is right under the big headline, "Find apps to solve any problem." We've highlighted a few industries that I would urge you all to click into and get an idea of the content that we suggest or that we've seen work well in those specific industries. So yeah. I think that's it. I think we can go to the next one. So why did we do this? Benefits of the Tulip Library. Why did we build it? We built it for like a pretty clear and concise reason. We built it to accelerate your digital transformation with out-of-the-box apps, app suites, and connectors. In the middle there, we say we're like looking to if you're looking to start your journey or enhance it. So what do I mean by that? I mean like if you're still figuring out what Tulip does, and you wanna get a taste for what you can do with it, the library is a great place to start. Or if you already use Tulip, you've seen the value that Tulip provides you, your operations, and you want to increase that value and like expand Tulip into different areas of your operations, then enhancing your journey is like what we're referring to there, and the library can help you out in just the same way. But the three core value props, is the fancy way to put it, but like why we built the library, three things. The first is to shorten time to value. It's kind of harkening back to that out-of-the-box-ness of the content in the library. The problems that Tulip is solving, more often than not, are solved by other organizations or other tools that are really slow to implement. They're really difficult to configure. They take a long time. You have to work with a lot of people. There are a ton of stakeholders involved. Tulip is not necessarily built for that paradigm. From the very beginning, we were like, we need to make sure that people who use our product can see the value of our product almost immediately. So no like 6 months to a year deployment timelines. Proving value quickly upfront and at a small scale, and then like turning that into something enterprise ready. This is like a process. This is like, leaning on continuous improvement methods. But it's really, really important to get value immediately with Tulip. And so the library is like a fantastic tool for that. And that's only proven true in like our recent data. Distributing best practices. So that's the first thing, shorten time to value. Second thing is to distribute best practices. We've got roughly 92 or 94 pieces of content on the library right now. When I say content, I'm referring to apps, app suites, and connectors that all kind of like serve different purposes, but are used for different aspects of the business. And so this content, is built by somebody, and that somebody in this case is Tulip. So people on our team with decades of experience, both working in specific industries and at Tulip, know very deeply how to build content that is high quality, that solves problems, and that is also like easy to understand. Because Tulip is not in the business. This harkens back to the long time to value, and in other tools, Tulip is not in the business of building large complex systems that are difficult to change and become very static and like overbearing at times, like later in the implementation's lifespan. Tulip is focused on getting quick value, making changes as you iterate, and I'll get into all of this, but quick value, making changes as you iterate, and making sure that what you've got works for now and in the future. Finally, allowing for configuration. This is the third piece to all of the content in the library. Tulip, I said it already. Tulip is like a digital toolbox. It's a set of tools that you can use to build solutions to problems that you have, and it's the necessity for configuration. That's the thing that drove us to initially conceive of Tulip. If you're Tulip would not be successful if we were building solutions, very hyper-specific solutions for everybody, because everybody has a different problem, right? Everybody here has a different tool set, a different set of constraints, and different processes in place for building or making the things that you do. There is no one answer for everybody, but there are some very general things that we can say. And so what Tulip has done with the library is we've built a bunch of content that conforms to these very general approaches to problems, and gets you basically the 80% of the way there, and then that last 20%, makes it easy for you to understand with our documentation. Like, okay, so this works really well, but I'd like to connect this to my ERP, or this works really well, but I make refrigerators in one part of the factory, and I make some other electronic device in another part, and so I want to use the same app, but I need to make it slightly customized for those, or configurable for those two. So those are the three main points: shorten time to value, distribute best practices. We know how and allow for configuration and content. So yeah. Go to the next slide. So Tulip apps, anything in the library these all share a similar data model, or the same data model in the majority of cases. So what that means is that you can plug and play different aspects of the library, and it'll all work together very nicely. Gio will show this when he's showing you an app suite. But it's really quite amazing to be able to pull a piece of content from the library that works on this part of the floor and a different piece of content that works outside of the floor, maybe in like an administrative context. And so you can choose to make it as large or as small, make your Tulip implementation as large or as small as you need it to be. And you can jumpstart that with the library. So yeah, this is just a couple of examples of different aspects of a potential system that you could use, that you could basically plug and play modularly as you see fit. Next slide. So I mentioned it a few times, but continuous improvement is really, really important for Tulip. Everybody here is human. Everybody here, I'd be hard pressed to believe that everybody here has gotten it right the first time, every time. So like the best approach is to start small, prove that you're doing things right in that small scope, and then expand that as you see fit. As you prove value, make it larger and bigger, and you'll have more problems, and you'll iterate on those. But Tulip is here to help that. Tulip is built for this kind of thing. So what you do, or like how does continuous improvement in the library fit in? So you start with the Tulip library, import a piece of content or install a piece of content and configure that for your needs. Initial needs, like maybe your needs grow over time, whatever. Start small and use the app editor to do that. You launch the app, and so you put it out there. You give it a few trial runs. You see how it performs. You measure those results with the Tulip platform, with all of our built-in analytics, or like maybe you're installing an app suite that has some built-in analytics, and then you enact change, right? So you do a thing. You start with Tulip. You make some changes, you try it out. Did it do well or not? And then you improve upon it based on the results of your measurements. This cycle is the cycle that asymptotically approaches perfection. You'll never reach it, or maybe you will. But this is the approach that most sets everybody up for success. Honestly, regardless of what you're doing. But specifically in manufacturing, it works quite well. The Tulip's here to help that. So what's new in the library? On that topic of continuous improvement, so if you are familiar with Tulip for at least, well, I'll go back for a second before we intro app suites. If you're familiar with Tulip, since January, you'll know that this is not the first time that you're hearing about the library. We initially launched this in January. There was a totally new redesign that we did in accordance with our brand redesign, something that's live and launched just a week or two ago. And so in addition to all of the new features in terms of discoverability and the nice new colors, we've also introduced some new content types, and I've referenced them, but we're going to dig into them a little bit now. So the first is app suites. An app suite is multiple configured apps with a shared data model that solve a group of related use cases. We're going to get into a specific example so that this definition kind of starts to sink in a little bit, but suffice it to say that an app suite doesn't focus on one hyper-specific problem in one hyper-specific area of your operations. Rather, it kind of focuses on a more general problem that might touch different aspects of your operations. So the one that we'll be getting into is auditing. It's like an audit checklist app, is the audit checklist app suite that helps you perform audits. And those audits are cross-functional audits. So you can define any number of audits. They can be performed at different frequencies and across different buildings, different value streams, different cells. It doesn't matter. They're the concept of an audit is something that is the more macro use case here, and then the implementation of that audit is the details that the app kind of takes care of, so that you can focus it on a specific area in your operations. So next slide, I think I say a lot of that same stuff. So let's look at this example, the audit checklist app suite. So there are 4 apps in this app suite. The first one is the audit checklist app. That's in the top left. This is the app that you use to perform floor audits, right? It's something that you can, its aspect ratio is conducive of a mobile phone or like a tablet. So you can take this on the go and actually conduct your audits. This is the app for that. In the bottom left, the Audit Checklist Manager is another app in this app suite. And this is the process by which you can manage what your audits are, where they're performed, with what frequency they occur, and who performs that audit. So this is where you map, like, I want, safety walks to happen twice monthly, and I want them to be performed by Geo. I want Geo to do the twice monthly safety walk. This is where you kind of make those mappings. On the bottom right, moving over to the right, we have the audit checklist requirements. This is the app that you use to prescribe checks to perform during each audit. So this is where I say, so I've already said that I want Geo to perform my safety walk twice monthly, but I haven't said like what consists of a safety walk, right? So like this is where I say step one, go to the cell and look around and make sure that everybody in the cell is wearing their goggles, their gloves, and a composite or steel-toe boots. If you get a check mark there, that's great. You pass that audit. If you don't, we'll find out with the audit checklist dashboard. And brings me to the audit checklist dashboard. Just above that, this is where you measure your performance. What is the point? Hopefully this is obvious, but what is the point of performing an audit if you don't know how well you're doing at those audits? This is where, this is kind of like referencing the usage of different components of an app suite in different contexts, because it's possible that you might want to see the dashboard that monitors your audit performance it's possible you might want to see that on the floor, like in front of, right when you walk in or something. And then you also might want to make sure that, supervisors or executives have access to that wherever they are outside of, the floor. Maybe like that's in in a hallway somewhere in HQ, or access to it via like a mobile phone or something when you're sitting on a plane or something. So it's context exclusive, all of this content. So it's an important note. So we'll dig into that. Finally, what's the other new thing? Connectors. So Tulip connectors, again, if you're familiar with Tulip, connectors are not new. We've had connectors for quite a bit of time, but the new part here is the introduction of connectors to the library. This is probably, for me as a developer, the most exciting aspect of the content that we have on the library. That may or probably is not the case for engineers, manufacturing engineers, but the connectors are your integration points to other systems within the context of your Tulip account. So basically, what we do is we say the same people that are working really, really hard and have a lot of industry experience are also working with engineers to help identify APIs for these systems, build out solutions for these systems. Like what would a connection to the Google Drive API look like in the context of Tulip? We build those connectors out, and then with the click of a button, you have access to anything that you can do with Google Drive within a Tulip app. It's really quite powerful, and it's honestly very, very exciting to see some of the connections that can be made there. And we'll dig into the Google Sheets use case in a little bit. I think that's all I wanted to say. Gio, do you want to take it back for a little demo?
It's showtime. Yeah. Thanks, John. Yeah.
For sure.
So I'll. I guess thanks, Josh, for walking us through all of that. So we kind of briefly talked about it, but we wanted to showcase a couple of demos of some of these new apps in the library to kind of show you how simple it is to use, and what the kind of solutions you can build with all the content in the library. So the first one that we'll showcase is the Google Sheets unit test. So for those of you who aren't familiar, Google Sheets is a very simple spreadsheet software that Google makes, very similar to Microsoft Excel. So we actually also have the Microsoft Excel. It's hosted on 365 connector app on Library, as well as Airtable and others. But today we're going to be going into the Google Sheets. So, as you can see there, it's a good starting point to get started with connectors to the library. Of course, it's open to all industries because data lives in spreadsheets across the world. It's the developer was developed in-house by Tulip, and it's free of charge, like all the other apps in the library. And then the second app, which actually isn't an app, it's an app suite. So it's like Josh was saying, it's a collection of apps. So in this case, it's the 4 apps that we went through earlier. It does require some minor configuration. It's very simple configuration. I'll show you how you can go in and manage your checklists, manage the requirements that each of these checklists need to go through. And then you can start using it on the cell phones or tablets that are running on the frontline operations in your organization. Okay, so awesome. With that, I'll just stop sharing my screen for a second. I'll share my entire screen so you can see everything. Okay, perfect. So the first thing is I'll come in here and I'll navigate to the Tulip Library, specifically the Google Sheets unit test webpage. So you can see there's some information on this unit test. There's a video that walks you through, actually, I should point this out because this is very important. Every app and app suite within the library comes with a video and documentation that helps you set up your the apps that you install within your account, and also you can go view the documentation. So for this one, for the Google Sheets connector, you can come in here, see exactly what this app does, how it can be used, its purpose, the documentation for the API, any prerequisites that it might have, connection details, and just some other things to get you configured and using this specific app.
Yeah. And actually, one note on that. So it's in the documentation there where it'll be really clear what should be configured in the app, like using the app editor, and what should be configured using the apps. So like what I mean by that is like, if you want to add your logo, your organization's logo, that's something that you would do in the app editor. Whereas, if you're defining an audit like we're about to do, that's something that you would do in the app itself with the apps. So I just wanted to point out that there are different types of configurability to this content, and that's specified in the documentation.
Yep, yeah. That's good to point out. And you can see, in the complexity, in some of them you'll see that there is some configuration required. So you can see that there. But once you find the app that you want to install, you can simply click over here on the right side, account URL. So this is where you put the URL of your Tulip instance. So if you don't have one yet, you can go to our free trial page and get one just to start getting familiar with it. But if you have one, this is where you put the actual URL. Then you click Add, and you'll see here, just open up a new tab in my browser. Gives me the option to install, which is I want to do. And boom, just like that, with 2 clicks, we now have the Google Sheets unit test within my Tulip instance, which is the same place where I can go to build, any other apps, or just the usual Tulip app builder that you're used to. So now, once we have this app in here, we can open it up. And actually, I should point out, apps are very good. Like, installing apps and app suites is a very good way to solve solutions, but it's also a very good way to learn how to build in Tulip. Because like Josh was saying, these are built in-house by Tulip experts, people who use Tulip day in, day out, and really are very familiar with the platform. So it's often quite good to come in here, just see how things are set up, see where the variables are assigned, what happens on the various button clicks, naming conventions, these kinds of things. Just actually as a learning opportunity, it's really good to just click around and see how the app is built. But so this is the Google Sheets unit test app. So what we'll do is we'll show you how you can use this. So what we have here is it's a Google Sheet that I called work orders. It's here running on my computer, and we're just tracking the IDs, the product, the quantities, due dates for work orders. Just a table of work orders, whether they've been completed or not, just so we can manage these. And of course, this is just a demo. You can imagine this being way more complex, collecting information on a lot more fields and so forth. But here we're just getting started. So I'll just show you this fairly simple. So what I open up here, this is the Tulip player. So this is what we use to actually run applications. So if you can imagine on your shop floor, you can install it on tablets or on computers or on phones, whatever device, you can just install the Tulip player. And that's what you actually use to run the apps. So now I'll just search for Google, and you can see that it's available immediately. So it's available in the app editor. It's also available in here. And I can go ahead and open it up. So this is a unit test app. So it's designed to help you understand how Google Sheets API works. So we wrote a lot of the functions. We built a lot of the functions that you can use to understand how this API works. So this one here, it's to create a new spreadsheet. We're not interested right now because I have an existing one. So we'll just tab through them. And this is the one we're interested in. So insert spreadsheet records. So what we'll do is we'll come in here, and this here just copying the spreadsheet ID. If you want to, you can just set this to be static, so you don't have to do it every time, of course. And it's just like that. Copy it in here, and then we'll add a new record. So we'll say, okay, work order number 90. We're going to be making glasses today. Let's make 34 of them. We'll make them due on Halloween, and assign them to Josh, and then we'll mark it as not complete for now. Click insert record, and just like that, we now see that information is being stored in this Google Sheet. So that's actually, I don't know how long, like a minute, you're able to download an app into your instance, very easily, put in the spreadsheet ID, send information to it, something that, typically takes way longer to do, the simple integration of this. Whereas with Tulip and using apps from the library, it's something that you can do almost instantaneously. So it's a very powerful tool to that works very quickly as well. So, just like that, we built this very simple app, but it's actually doing something very useful, just sending information between these two systems. Of course, I would like to point out, because it is very important, that right now both the Tulip player and the spreadsheet are on my computer, but it doesn't matter. It could be on the other side of the world. The information is, it's all in the cloud, so it stays up to date. You don't have to worry about anything. You can go ahead, send information between the two systems very easily. Then we have a lot more functions built out that you can take a look at. So getting all the spreadsheet data, getting the details on the spreadsheet, so if for whatever reason you want to know some information, you can come in here and take a look at that. You can get specific batch data. So for a range of 2 specific cells, you can do that. And then these are all within the unit test. But
that's the key of the unit test. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but the unit test is like it's an app that walks you through the different functions that you can perform with this connector, and then it also, by the way, comes with the connector. So you can then build on top of that connector, which I think you're going to show right now. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly.
That's very cool.
So yeah. So when you import any connector or connector unit test app, it comes in with the connector. The connector is what Tulip uses to, as the name suggests, to connect to external systems to read or write information. So you can see I have all the information that came in automatically. Just when I click the button, install, all this information came in. You need to do some minor configurations just so it's set to your specific Google account. But all the information comes in along with all the functions. And the power of it is.
Sorry, there's some motorcycles outside.
Yeah, loud motorcycle. Once you have the connector and all the connector functions within your instance, you can go ahead and use them in any other app. So it's not just a unit test, because the unit test app actually is not, really, I mean, it's useful to learn and to understand how it works, but you can use it for any other app within your instance. You can go ahead and use the connector functions that were imported. So in this example here, within my logistics department, I have a shipping app to mark when things are shipped. And of course, it's good to know, okay, which work orders am I shipping? So actually, let me just show you what this looks like from the Tulip player, which again is what runs on your shop floor. But you come in here and you just click the Get Work Orders button. You get all the work orders that are in this Google Sheet that we had created earlier, coming into Tulip. But here, if you see this, and for those of you who aren't familiar with the app editor, this is triggers. This is kind of the meat and potatoes of Tulip, where you can kind of define all the logic that happens. You can see here it's really simple. I'm just selecting from these drop downs. I go and say, okay, run connector function. The connector is the Google Sheet, which was imported and pre-built for me. I select this specific function. I can select any function. Spreadsheet ID. It's for this specific spreadsheet. I define the range, and then I save that result as data. So just in these, the single line. I guess it's split up over a couple lines, but just in the simple trigger, we're connecting to the Google spreadsheet and importing all the data into Tulip. And in this example here, I just wanted to show you because there was also another unit test for Shippo. Shippo is like a platform to manage various shipments to the different carriers around the world. So you can run the connector function, Shippo, and then here you can see, okay, I want to create a shipment. And if you have all this information, so all the address and everything else, you can just fill it out from these drop downs and then create a shipment that's ready to go and can be shipped out to the customer sites. Good. So that was the main. That was what we wanted to show with the Google Sheets. Again, we have I don't know actually how many connectors, but many connectors to a lot of very useful systems around the world. A lot of the Microsoft tools, Airtable, a lot of kind of modern platforms, Shippo, NetSuite connectors, SAP. We have it's a long list and an ever-growing list actually. So recommend taking a look at that. Good. So now the other demo that we wanted to showcase is an app suite. So specifically the audit checklist app suite. So if I open it up, if you remember from earlier from when Josh was sharing his screen, the 4 apps that are within the audit checklist, you can see them here. So once you install the entire suite, it comes with the whole package of these 4 apps, everything you need to start doing audits in your operations. So for example, if I come here and open up the dashboard, it will just give me high level. And actually, let me just open it up here as well on my instance from the app builder. But it just gives you high level all the metrics of the audits that you're performing. So if you want to see how many audits you've done on it's in here somewhere. Where did I put it? I just search for it. Yep, on a dashboard. So again, once I import the app, and this app, sorry, I should specify, I imported just this morning, just before this this webinar. But it just exactly the same as the Google Sheets app. Once I imported it, it came with everything I needed out of the box. So here we can see the number of audits that have been completed, past audits, all this information. It's kind of made available for you so that, like Josh was saying, if you want to put it in a hallway or in a big screen somewhere, you can easily just display that information and have it available. But what I want to share is kind of, walking through the entire workflow of creating a new checklist, a new audit, and running through it. So if I come in here, I see that currently I have created two checklists, one for a Gmp audit and one for a fire. What we'll do is we'll come in here and we'll create a new checklist. So I'll say, okay, This is going to be a health and safety checklist. And we can define a preset frequency. So every how many number of days we want to run it. And here I'll say it's going to be a bi-weekly thing. So every 14 days we want to run this health and safety checklist. So click create, and boom, just like that, you'll see that now there are three checklists within my account. So of course, if I select this one, it's not scheduled yet because I haven't created any requirements for it. There's nothing here. But if I select some of these other two, you can see that there's, by specific area, there are checklists that are assigned to people with specific due dates assigned to them, so that these people on their phones will get a notification saying, oh, it's time to do this this specific checklist. So if I wanted to add it, you can come in here and say, okay, I want to run. You can either do them like scheduled checklists every 2 weeks, like we did earlier, or you can also like say, okay, on this specific date for this specific area, warehouse assigned to this specific person. I want to assign a checklist, and you can see here now it's been assigned to John Appleseed for this date, for this item, for this area. But of course, at least the health and safety one, we don't have actually any requirements added to it yet. So what we'll do is we'll come in here, and you'll see this drop down has now been added with this health and safety checklist. I can select an option, and again, I would like to point out, like, this app within this app suite works out of the box when it comes in from the library. But if you wanted to, you can come in here and modify these groups very easily. Just come in here and, like, from the whatever I want, but you can modify these drop downs very easily.
Yeah, I mean, even with the like, these are just apps, so like you can, like on the last slide when you were setting the frequency for the audit, I mean, you can set anything for that. Like, let's say, like, I want to email somebody every time the audit needs to be performed. Like, these are so simple things they're very simple to extend, even outside of like the configuration options that we provide you.
Yeah. It's an important point because, on any of these triggers, like for example, in the save requirement, we want it to come in here, it's like the app works out of the box when it comes into your instance. But then, like Josh was saying, if you also want to, like, say, okay, I also want to send an email or an SMS every time a new audit has been completed, you come in here and say, okay, I want to send it to a specific user. I'll just send it to myself. And you can send the message, whatever. You can very easily come in here and, like, just from these drop downs, select, configure the app the way you want to. So here in this example, I'll say, okay, the requirement will be safety glasses. Safety glasses. I'll say, okay, ensure all employees are wearing safety glasses. Okay. Okay, perfect. I have all the information. It's work and housekeeping. Click save requirement. And like that, now we see it. It's been added over there. Here we want to say, let's say safety shoes. I won't put a description for now, just for save all of our time. But you'll see that, as you add the requirements, they come here on the list for this checklist. So now that you've created this checklist, all these checklists, it's time to run them, of course. So either on a specific schedule or on a specific date, you can run them. And to run that, you can use and here you can see I'm sharing my phone, I'm sharing my screen here. But I'll run it here from my player, from my computer, but just wanted to show that it is made to run from phones or tablets in the portrait aspect ratio. But so here, just with any internet connected phone, you can go in and run audits from there. Here, just to show you so it's clear for everyone to see, I'll run them from here, from my Tulip player, from my computer. But again, imagine this being my phone screen. And the first thing that I'll see is I can see, okay, what are my checklists that have been assigned to me that I need to run. So the first one is the Gmp audit. So okay, I'm ready to run this this checklist, and then come in here and say, okay, what is the first thing I need to do? So the first thing I need to do is check the fire extinguisher expiry date. Okay, so check date and record. So this description wasn't very detailed, but it's clear what I have to do. So I can come in here and I'll say, okay, the fire extinguisher expires on I'll just say, I don't know, 06/31/2021. So it's a pass. It's going to expire in 10 days. So I guess not a lot of time, but it's still valid for all intents and purposes. Optionally, you can also take a photo or upload it. It's really, you can build these multimedia rich apps. Just like that, click pass and then click next. And then, in the same way that we were building the checklist before, this is for another checklist. This is a GMP one. But here it's asking, okay, confirm the loading straps are solid, check straps are frayed. So this one as well is a pass. Okay, now we have this information, checklist complete. Next due date is on the 13th of June. So perfect, click pass, and here we see it in 13th of June. And so just like that, with a handful of clicks from my phone, I was able to complete a checklist that was configured, again, all from the Tulip player. So yeah, that's, let me just open up the dashboard again. Come in here, menu, change app, the dashboard. But, and of course, as the team goes and runs these checklists, information is being recorded so you can define how to kind of, prioritize your improvements within your facility. So you can say, okay, if you see like a specific area within your facility is failing most often, or a specific day of the week, or whatever, you can build all these analyses to help you drill down into the root cause of the issue and then help drive improvement. So that's, nobody runs audits just for fun. So here you can build out these Paretos, you can customize them. These are called analyses within Tulip. So, you can display any data you want and use that data to drive action. So again, here, this would be like, for example, for the health and safety one, you can just drive those improvements there. But so now I'll just go back into the presentation real quick. Let me just share the tab. Okay. So awesome. So now we saw a couple of two apps. We saw them run from start to finish, from install to working. So what's next? So apps are released on a bi-weekly cadence. So every 2 weeks, we have new apps that are added to the library that you can go and start using right away. So right now we have 68 apps. You can see the metrics there, all free of charge. But every 2 weeks we add to it, and we kind of we prioritize the apps that we see as being most useful as the ones that we're doing first. But we want to hear from you. So if there's a specific suite that you'd like us to build, or a specific connector to a system that you'd like us to build, get in touch. So we've linked there, and we'll be sending out this presentation. Get in touch with us because we definitely want the library to be driven by the use cases that you're building in Tulip. So if you have specific, again, connectors or apps or app suites or entire solutions that you'd like us to build, get in touch, and we can kind of work to prioritize them, because it's we're building the library so that it's a useful tool for all of our users. So yeah, with that, thank you everybody for joining. I think there's let's see if there are questions that came in. Let's see. So okay, are there use cases? You create them? Yeah. So okay, yeah. Thanks for the question. So yeah, we do. We definitely do create them based on client needs. Like I mentioned, use the link that we'll be sharing here if you have a specific request. So we definitely want to build it for for our clients. So if you have something that you'd like us to build, let us know. We can go ahead and, as long as it's within reason and within, it's a useful tool for many people, we'll likely build it.
Yeah, I think we mostly build, we almost exclusively build content for the library based on problems that people have had, our customers have had. We don't.
Yeah. I mean, it is fun to build Tulip apps, but
it is fun to build Tulip apps.
It is more fun. But it is more fun to build them for a specific when they're solving actual problems.
Yeah.
So,
do you mind, Gio? Do you mind? I'm going to put you on the spot. Do you mind sharing your screen again for the library, like tulip.co/library?
Yeah, to go to the connectors.
Yeah, exactly. So I just want to show. We showed you two specific pages. One for the Google Sheets unit test, and maybe one for the audit checklist app suite. But this is like on our website. This is like all free content that you have access to, whether you're a free trial user or your like organization has like some super expansive enterprise engagement, and like you want to like extend Tulip on your shop floor. But this is like on our website, totally free to access, totally free to install. What I was talking about earlier with all of the different ways for that we've improved discoverability. If you scroll down to the bottom on the left-hand side, it turns out that we've recently added some connectors, but you'll see connectors in the categories section on the sidebar. So if you go ahead and click that, you'll be brought to a filter that shows you all of the connectors. So this is where Gio was talking about, we've got a bunch of Microsoft tools that we've added that we've released. We've got Onshape that we've released, SAP, a bunch of Google stuff, NetSuite, AppSuite. This is your definitive list for everything on the library in terms of connectors. And as Gio said, if you use a tool that you want Tulip to connect to, just reach out on community, and we'll get at it.
Yeah.
Actually, another one while we're here, there's another question. Are you developing any Kanban apps? For sure. If you click on continuous improvement on the left-hand side, you should see Kanban.
Here it is.
There it is. Very first one. So there's that. There's a bunch of other lean manufacturing apps there. Reminder that we've got video content and documentation for every piece of content on the library. If you were to actually click into, there's a little bit more in terms of documentation too. If you were to click into a suite, I think you maybe have to click App Suite on the bottom. But I wanted to highlight the fact that go to any one of them. I also wanted to highlight this, which is not technically documentation, but is kind of like it. So every app suite is a group of apps, right? It does a bunch of different things, typically that involving around the same use case. And so this is where you can find all that on the homepage for that piece of content. So you'll see here in the equipment logbook app suite, there are 5 apps. You'll get a little description on all of the apps and what you can do with them. So
yeah, and also so there was a question about inventory management. So we also do have I can't remember if that's an individual app or an app suite, but we definitely do also have that.
I think it's an individual app. Yeah.
Is it? Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And so if you wanted to find an individual app, I mean, you can, on the bottom there's a search bar. You can just type in inventory and see. Yeah, right there.
Yeah.
Just type in inventory.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But okay, because there's the mobile one. That's one.
There it is.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
What else?
Awesome. So YouTube channel, yeah. What about work instructions apps or live data entry at the operation steps? Okay, so work instructions, yes. There's actually a handful of bundles depending on how, there are some that kind of, you download the app and then all you have to do is upload the instructions and the images, then you add steps and it's very simple. And then there's some more dynamic ones. So if you need to get, if your operations are a bit more complex and you have different configurations of an assembly that you like to do, we also have the app, an app suite or an app that's called Dynamic Work Instructions that really like helps you build a lot more dynamic work instructions. That is really pretty neat.
Yeah, that's for apps that are or work instructions that are built from like another data set. So like, for example, if you have like some system that that actually has all this work instruction data, and what you want to do is like surface those instructions to your operators just using Tulip, you can use the Dynamic Work Instructions app and like connect it using a connector or like tables or whatever.
Yeah.
There's another question. Are Tulip users able to create and use their own apps? Yeah, for sure. Depending on like the role that you're assigned, you know, we have like an enterprise set of permissions for every user in Tulip. So I'm not sure, Eric, if you're like just starting out with Tulip, and in that case, then you're more than able to create Tulip apps. If you're part of an organization that already has a very robust Tulip implementation, then I would talk to your system administrator to see if you can get access to creating apps.
Yeah, and also going back to Tulip University, if you do want to start, building your own apps, recommend using the university to get started. It's kind of, self-paced videos with tutorials that you kind of build along with our in-house professor John, and it's a great way to learn, honestly. So you can either you can start from like a blank canvas, or you can also modify the apps that you install from the library. So once you install them, they're yours to modify as you see fit for your operation.
Yeah, that Eric was probably asking about that, not my answer with the permissions. Just a reminder for enterprise users of Tulip.
Yeah, Tulip is fantastic. Thank you. We'll pass the feedback on to the product education team. There is some really good content in there, and it's always growing. Like everything with Tulip, always adding new content, always adding new things. But it is a very good way probably the best way to learn Tulip.
To Christian's question, are there apps for real-time production, monitoring, measuring KPIs such as hit rate, OEE? For sure. I would check any number of the sidebar filters. I would look at like capturing data, see what we have there in terms of content. I would check machines and equipment for things like OEE. If you're talking about manual machines, we also have content for that. So like when I say manual machines, I'm referring more to like older machines that aren't as smart as some of the newer ones. So some of the data monitoring needs to happen manually with users because the machine was made in 1960. I don't know how old's the oldest machine you've ever seen, Gio, on a shop floor?
Old. I mean, in Massachusetts, there's a couple that have been around for a while. I'm thinking of one specific, but yeah, old.
I've seen at the pre-world. Yeah. I've seen a really old one at a museum, in the Berliner Museum in Germany has like some Dekomahu machines that are from World War I. Pretty crazy. They're in museums though. They're not on the shop floor. But if you have machines, the point of all this, if you have machines that should be in museums, you can monitor all that with Tulip still using a manual machine monitoring app from the library.
Yeah, that's actually, you can connect sensors to Tulip, and then you have to use a device called Tulip Gateway that reads these outputs, and then you can use in your apps. But actually, that brings me to a poll that we'll be sharing. So we're going to be doing these webinars every 2 weeks. So we want to hear from you with regards to what webinars you'd like us to host. One of them is machine monitoring. So if you'd like to see that one, you probably see Josh and I here again. But yeah, the poll is now live, so you can answer along with what you thought of this webinar. But yeah, with that, I think all the questions are answered. Any in the chat here? I think we're all set. Thank you everybody for joining. It was great to see folks joining from all over the world. Hopefully it was a useful session. And we'll see you on the next webinar.
All right. Thanks so much, Gio.
Thank you, Josh. Thanks everyone.
Talk to you later.
Take care.